Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Greg Berhalter has announced his 25-man squad for the US men's national team ahead of their upcoming CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers against Mexico and Jamaica. Here are the selections he has made. Christian Pulisic called back into the team after he returned to action for Chelsea for the first time since mid-August earlier this week. Borussia Mönchengladbach defender Joe Scally earned his first call up to the senior squad. Ricardo Pepi, the star of the show last time out against Jamaica, one of 6 forwards included in the group. And as you can see, a big mix of MLS and European-based players to make up this November qualifying group. And for more on the latest team news, welcome along to our studios, Poppy Miller, Ian Joy and former US international Jimmy Conrad here with you. Jimmy, we're going to break down this roster in detail shortly, but first, give us your initial thoughts on Greg's selections.
Well, my first thought is, thank you, Christian Pulisic, for being healthy enough to be involved in this roster. That's very exciting. I think it does give us a different dynamic and maybe puts a little bit of fear into Mexico that we have a game changer in our team that's done it consistently at the highest level. So I'm excited he's back in. On the defensive side of the ball, no John Anthony Brooks. I mean, what is going on? He's supposed to be one of our most experienced center backs, a guy that was going to be our leader, a potential captain, and he can't even get into this team. I don't think he's hurt. I know Serginho Dest, who's not also included, is hurt. So that makes sense to me, obviously. But John Anthony Brooks missing 2 consecutive international qualifying windows. That makes me a little fearful about his potential role with the team moving forward. And then, of course, you know, who's going to step up and fill his boots.
John Anthony Brooks just recently coming out and making a statement, Jimmy, to Doug McIntyre that he takes full responsibility for his performances not being up to scratch, not being up to his standards and the US men's national team standards, although of late for Wolfsburg in the Champions League and also domestically, the last couple have been much more impressive. So nice to see that reaction from John Anthony Brooks. It hasn't been good enough from him. When you look at the last qualification process, it was nowhere near up to scratch. Greg Berhalter has a great deal of expectancy, but it's a great deal of experience you're now taking from that roster. A lot of caps, a lot of experience, and even if he's not playing, being around those young players, inspiring those young players, it's a key figure to take out. So a big statement right there from Greg Berhalter, but the one that stands out to me is friend of the show, Joe Scally, baby, getting the call-up that he deserves. One player who has impressed, played in every single Bundesliga game for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He deserves his call-up. It's a surprise call-up still, but he really deserves it. I hope he gets some minutes out there on the field. And this is a big, strong squad right now. Now they got to go perform.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love the Joe Scally ad, Ian. I mean, he's been fantastic for Borussia Mönchengladbach. There's only 3 players that have started every game in the Bundesliga for them. It's their captain, Lars Stindl, their goalkeeper, Jan Sommer, who's pretty good, and Joe Scally, who's been excellent. His first foray into the Bundesliga was playing against Bayern Munich, and he held his own. And I think that's what's most impressive about the 18-year-old is his ability to have that composure in big moments. So I'm actually not all that worried if he ends up rolling out for us against Mexico or against Jamaica away from home in either one of these games in the qualifying window, because I think he's got that stature and that composure, and he might get some minutes now that Serginho Dest isn't there. So I'm very excited to see Joe Scally and how he immerses himself into this group.
All right, well, let's take a look then at the roster by positions. We'll show you the goalkeepers first. Walk us through this, Ian, because no real surprise here in terms of selections, but Matt Turner seems to have the hot hand at the minute.
He does, but Zach Steffen getting that last opportunity in the qualifier impressed me. He has since played for Manchester City a couple of times. One in the Premier League, really impressive. One in the Cup, even though they got knocked out. He has been playing, so he's fresh, and I think that Zach Steffen might just get the nod. I really believe that. So interesting. Obviously, it's the same names that we're seeing so familiar. Sean Johnson getting called back in there. There's been a little bit of a rotation with Horvath, but Sean continues to get that call up alongside, obviously, Matt Turner, who's been ever impressive in Major League Soccer and deserves to be challenging Zach Steffen. Big decision still to be made right there from Greg Berhalter.
What do you think about that, Jimmy, with the Zach Steffen, Matt Turner decision? Who do you favour?
I honestly feel like it depends on the opponent, Poppy. If we play Mexico and we feel like we want to play out of the back and we want to have a little bit of the ball, then Zach Steffen has proven he's got a little bit better feet than Matt Turner. But if we're looking for maybe at a game where we're not going to have a lot of possession, if we're deciding to sit back a little bit and going to absorb that pressure and try to hit him on the counterattack, then maybe Matt Turner's your guy. He's going to probably face some more shots. He's an excellent shot stopper, and he's proven that he's been nails for us for the U.S. men's national team. This is a good problem to have. We used to have it with Casey Keller and Brad Friedel, and there's nothing bad about this situation. It's just a matter of who we're picking at the right time, and that's what the manager gets paid the big bucks for.
So, Greg, with options in goal, Jimmy, walk us through the defenders then, because we've mentioned Joe Scally, one of the biggest notable arrivals to this group.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great names here. Very pleasantly surprised to see Mark McKenzie get in, Walker Zimmerman. I think they've been very good for us when called upon. And you can see some other names. Chris Richards, very solid for Hoffenheim. And maybe because of how Chris has been playing for Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga, maybe that gave him the edge over John Anthony Brooks. And I do want to add that I love that he came out and made a statement, and that players are being held accountable for their club form. We're not just calling big names to call big names. They have to be performing. So I love that from Greg Berhalter. Sammy Vines doing very well for Royal Antwerp. Nice to see him back in the team. Unfortunately, George Bello is going to have to sit and watch this one. And then DeAndre Edlin. You know, he's got a lot of experience in this group. I don't know if we relied on him enough in the last qualifying window where he maybe could have helped us down in Panama in particular. But here we are. We got a group that has some experience now. They've been through 2 qualifying windows, and we have some other younger players like Joe Scally that are ready to prove themselves as well. So this is a good, solid group. I like it.
Yeah, it is a good, solid group, Jimmy. Also, a bit of experience there. Not great experience, but there is experience there. Walker Zimmerman getting the call back up again. DeAndre Edlin getting the call back up again. Obviously, a hanger on from the last qualification process. But I like the youthfulness that's in amongst these defenders. Greg Berhalter's trying to coach these players through qualification, improve these players as players out there for the national team and also for the domestic club as well. And the US men's national team defenders are thriving at their club teams right now. So this is a very good mix of young players. And as Jimmy just mentioned right there, Sam Vines getting a call up. He deserves that. It's a big decision to go to Europe. You play well, you get your opportunity. Greg has proven that. Well,
let's talk about Europe then and the midfielders, Jimmy, and walk us through this one, because we've seen a couple of them playing in Champions League this week, haven't we?
We have, for sure, Poppy, and that's always exciting to see. But really, I just want to see the MMA back in. That's Musa, McKinney, and Adams. I love that 3 central midfield for us. If we go to a 4-3-3, or even if we want to play 3 center backs and a wing backs, we can put those guys in the midfield and they can have success. Weston McKennie has really picked up his game, scored some vital goals for Juventus lately. But I think that's going to be the 3 for us against Mexico for sure. And I can actually see them getting another run out against Jamaica. We can't mess around in World Cup qualifying. We've done that before in the last World Cup qualifying cycle, and we didn't qualify, and I'm still bitter.
You know what I love about this midfield, Jimmy, is the fact that it's spread out across the country and the world, really. When you look at it, Major League Soccer players in that midfield, Serie A players in that midfield, Bundesliga players in that midfield, La Liga players in that midfield. I mean, this is where the excitement starts to grow. Obviously, offensively is where it matters. That's where the goals are going to come from. But the experience is certainly there from a lot of these young players. I mean, this is an average age. I was looking it up. 23 years, 363 days for the squad in general. That is a real young number right there. And in midfield is in particular a young midfield, but exciting midfield. So really good to see those experienced players getting their opportunity, obviously in their domestic leagues, but now for the national team. Can we put it together?
And talking of excitement and goals, let's take a look at the forwards then, Jimmy, because it's exciting, isn't it, to see Christian Pulisic back in the mix, but also Ricardo Pepi is the top of the headlines at the minute.
Yes, Poppy, you're right. As I wrote on the sign behind me, I got a little peppy in my steppy because I'm excited to see Ricardo Pepi do what he does best and hopefully score some goals. He's bringing an FC Dallas teammate along with him, and Jesus Ferreira. Excited to see him. He's got 2 goals in 2 games for the U.S. men's national team and done well for our U23s when given the moment to shine at that level. So I'm excited. He's been playing well for FC Dallas here at the end of the season. And then Christian Pulisic, do you start him? Do you bring him on as a super sub? I think that's going to be the big decision here for Greg Berhalter going into this one. I think Brendan Aronson will most likely start. You could start Timothy Weah and bring Pulisic on. We've got some options up here. I know there are going to be some sad fans because there's no Matthew Hoppe, there's no P-Folk, there's no Sargent. Daryl Dike probably deserved a look. He's been in good form for Orlando City, but these are the players that we got, and I think we have more than enough talent to do some damage against both opponents in this window.
Yeah, slightly concerned there's no real strength or height when it comes to the strikers. Obviously, attack attacking-wise, technical ability, players who want to get on the ball, they're all there. And no doubt about it, Brendan Aronson has been a real surprise package for me. He's really fit in to these World Cup qualifiers. He's making a real statement to every US soccer fan out there that he deserves to be in Greg's starting 11. I think Christian being around the squad, Jimmy, is so massively important. His experience, obviously the pain that he felt in the last qualification process, motivating these players, pushing these players, and even if he doesn't get out there on the field for any minutes, just being around these players, pushing them, I think is tremendously important. Tim Weah deserves to be back in there, obviously. I think the forwards, the 6 of them that are out there, are the 6 that deserve to be there right now. And it's a battle to get into that starting 11. So if Christian's fit, obviously he plays, but there is a number of great options if he doesn't.
Well, let's take another look then at who the US will face. They've got Mexico up first, followed by Jamaica. So 2 massive matches. We know Mexico are at the top of the CONCACAF standings as it stands, then away in Kingston to take on Jamaica. So, Jimmy, your final thoughts ahead of this window?
I'm excited. Obviously cautiously optimistic against Mexico, but whether we qualify for the World Cup or not, Poppy, it's not going to come down to the results against Mexico. It's usually going to come down to in the games against Jamaica or Honduras at home or Costa Rica at home. So if we get those points, we're going to be fine. But I'm excited to see how we're going to do in Cincinnati for that first game. I think it's going to be a tremendous experience for our team, and hopefully we can get the result. Beating Mexico 3 times in a row is going to be a tough task, but I hope we're up for it.
Jimmy, I didn't quite understand that last word you said right there. It sounded like you swallowed it.
I tried to stumble through it 3 times, Ian. I'm doing my best over here.
You're excited.
I'm excited.
You're excited, and you absolutely should be. I still think there's pressure on Greg. He's got to get it right here. This is 20 players carrying on from the October qualifiers into this qualifiers. Consistency. That's what I want to see from Greg. Now it's down to performances and results, Poppy. It matters most now.
All right, so let's take a look at how things stand heading into this crucial window, though. As you can see, Mexico, the US, Canada, they are at the top as the road to Qatar continues in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying.